Welcome to Weekly Cheats. I'm Aaron, and after a week of eating clean, it's time for something sweet. Today we're going to be making peanut butter stuffed Oreo truffles. Before we get started, obviously the most important thing is to clean off our counter. If this is your first time watching the channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and turn on the notifications so you get notified whenever we have a new video post on Thursdays. Also, if you decide to make this recipe, take a picture of it and share it on your Instagram story and tag Weekly Cheats in it to get a shout out. All right, let's begin. All right, you may remember this peanut butter recipe from a video we posted a couple weeks back on the peanut butter truffles. In that video, I told you to pay attention to that because that kind of comes back in some of the other recipes that we have. Well, a couple other iterations that we'll do in future videos. But for this one, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's gonna be a half cup of peanut butter. I like Jif. All you need is creamy peanut butter, whatever one you like. And then powdered sugar, 2 cups of that, and 1 stick of softened butter. You do not want the butter to be melted. If it's liquid and too melted, then it will affect your texture and it'll make it too runny. So you'll have to put too much powdered sugar in so you can work with it. But then when the butter actually firms back up, it kind of dries out the peanut butter mixture later. You don't want that. So we'll start by adding our butter and peanut butter. We'll mix that together and then we'll gradually add the powdered sugar to get to the point that we want for our texture and consistency. Sometimes we use the full 2 cups, but not always. All right, we're gonna go ahead and scrape these. Slowly add our powdered sugar. Don't want the mixer on high when you add more. Get all this scraped off. And then we'll pretty much be ready to go. As you can see, it's kind of a nice cookie dough consistency. It's pliable, but it's not sticking to our fingers really. So, oh man. Guess I'll just have to eat that. It's ready. Now we'll be stuffing some Oreos with this, so we'll get those out. For this recipe, again, it's very simple. All we need is some Oreos. I like double stuff Oreos. Mega stuff are great too. Personally, I don't actually like Oreos by themselves. I think they taste like dirt with a little bit of cream in there. I don't like the taste of dirt, but they're great things to use for other stuff, to put things in them. So they complement other things well. So the biggest thing is, start with our Oreos. You're going to twist them open like so, okay? Never, ever, ever, under any circumstance, buy your Oreos from Walmart. They will all be broken. When you go to twist them, this piece will always be cracked and broken. So if you buy them at Walmart, buyer beware. Buy them anywhere else. So we've got all of our Oreos opened up here. Next, I'm gonna start putting some peanut butter mix in there. And as far as size of your top half of your thumb really, that's probably roughly a teaspoon's worth. Put that on there, maybe a little bit more. Teaspoon and a half. When you press the cracker back down, I already just demonstrated why you have to do it with 2-finger pressure. Otherwise you'll split the cookie in half like this one just split. Break like this and it breaks in half, you can put that back together pretty easily. But when it breaks into 15 different pieces, it's not usable. All right, so we've got them all put back together. That recipe yielded 29 Oreos. So it just depends on how generous you want to be. A little more generous on this one than that one. If I did them all like this, there'd probably be 35 to 40. If If I did them all like this, they'd probably be 20. So depends on how much you want in there to kind of determine that. Chocolate, I'm gonna start with about 16 ounces of chocolate. For this type of stuff, you could probably get away with if you wanted to use baking chips or something like that. But again, if you use like Toll House or even the Guitar baking chips, they generally get really clumpy and it's very melty afterwards. Like it'll melt all over you after you have let it set up and everything. So I recommend actual candy chocolate. I like Calibre, I like the Guitar ones. And the ones that come in little appeals like this, sometimes referred to as wafers on the packaging. A 5-pound bag of them is usually about 15 to 20 bucks at the most. So nothing too expensive and it'll last you quite a while. So we're just gonna melt this down. I just do it in the microwave. So I do it in 30-second increments so I don't burn the chocolate. You can stir it around in between each one. All right, so we've got it all melted down. I can already tell 16 ounces isn't gonna be enough chocolate. We'll probably need another 6 to 8 ounces, but we'll go through and get as many as we can. How much you end up using is kind of up to you. There are 2 types of spoons, right? You've got your regular small tablespoon and your large tablespoon. Big difference. We use the small one for this, so you don't put a ton on there and go crazy. So I like to have a bowl that's got a lip like that so I can just do just the spoonful amount, pat it on, and then you press it down so it goes over the edges. This is why, if it's cracked like that one, it doesn't really matter because the chocolate's gonna cover it up and hold it together anyways. Want to make sure that you space your Oreos out enough that if it does run down the sides, they're not clumping together. While the chocolate is setting up, I like to put a little drizzle of something on top so it doesn't look so boring. So in this case, we're using some white chocolate. It complements the cream and the Oreos really well as well. And just gives it a nice little pop. This technique just takes some time of doing this. White chocolate clumps really easily, so as you see on that first one there, I didn't let enough run off before I started to move it over there, and so you'll get a big clump. You gotta let some run off and then you can go back and forth. This only needed about 4, maybe 5 ounces of chocolate. Not nearly as much. Probably not even 5. All right, that part's done. Now it's just a matter of letting the chocolate set up. Depends on how warm your house is, but anywhere from 20, 30 minutes for it to get fully solid. I'm gonna go ahead and cut into one so you guys can get a nice little look at the cross section here. There we go. Ooh. Tasty. Got a nice little peanut butter layer. That's all we care about, really. Give me a minute while I enjoy this goodness. There's how to make peanut butter stuffed Oreo truffles. If you made this recipe, go ahead and post a photo of it on your Instagram story and tag Weekly Cheats in it so we can give you a shout out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the little notification item so that anytime we post a video every Thursday, you'll be notified.